The night wind moved slowly through the tall grass of the savannah. It carried the smell of dust, firewood, and old secrets. Drums sounded far away, deep and slow, like a heart beating under the earth. Above the village of Ndlovu, the moon watched everything with cold silver eyes. People said the moon never forgot pain. Inside a small mud house near the edge of the village, a woman cried in silence. Her name was Zalika. She sat near the fire, her knees pulled close to her chest. The firelight shook on the wall, and shadows danced like restless spirits. Her face was swollen. Dark bruises covered her arms and neck. One of her eyes was half closed, purple and red like a dying flower. She did not cry loud. In Ndlovu, women learned early how to hide pain. Outside, footsteps stopped. Another woman entered the hut. She looked exactly like Zalika. Same tall body. Same sharp cheekbones. Same deep eyes the color of wet soil after rain. Same long scar near the left eyebrow, earned when they were children chasing goats near the forest. Her name was Salima. Salima froze when she saw her sister's face. The fire cracked. A log broke in half. Sparks jumped like frightened insects. Ancestors, Salima whispered. Zalika turned away. Shame burned hotter than the fire. He did it again, Zalika said softly. Her voice was empty, like a dry river. Salima's hands trembled. Her chest rose and fell fast. She wanted to shout, to scream, to call the elders, to call the spirits of the mountains. But she knew the village rules. A woman's marriage was sacred. A husband's hand was not questioned easily. Especially when that husband was Bantu, the nephew of the village chief. Salima knelt beside her sister. She touched the bruises gently. Zalika hissed in pain. How long? Salima asked. Zalika did not answer. She stared into the fire. In the flames, Salima saw something else, fear mixed with something darker. Resignation. He says I bring bad luck, Zalika finally said. He says the ancestors are angry because of me. Salima's jaw tightened. Outside, an owl cried. It was a bad sign. Everyone knew that. Salima stood up slowly. Where is he now? She asked. Drinking palm wine with the hunters, Zalika replied. Laughing. Salima felt heat rush to her head. The world blurred. Memories came back, how she and Zalika were born under the same storm, how the elder women said they were mirror souls, bound by fate. Twins were powerful. Twins were dangerous. Twins were never ordinary. Their grandmother had warned them long ago. When one twin bleeds, the other must listen. Or the spirits will. Salima walked to the door, then stopped. Pack your things, she said quietly. Zalika looked up, confused. Where will I go? Salima turned. Her eyes were dark and calm now. Too calm. You will not go anywhere, she said. Tonight, we change destiny. The fire popped loudly, like it agreed. Later that night, the village slept. Dogs lay still. Even the wind held its breath. Behind the hut, under the shadow of an old baobab tree, the twins stood facing each other. The moon painted them silver, making them look like spirits themselves. Salima wore Zalika's torn dress. Zalika wore Salima's clean traveling cloth. Their hair was braided the same way. Anyone who looked would not know the difference. Zalika's hands shook. Salima, this is dangerous. Salima smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. Danger already lives in that house, she said. Tonight, it learns fear. From her pouch, Salima removed a small bone charm tied with red thread. It belonged to their grandmother. It was forbidden. The forest spirits do not forget favors, Zalika whispered. Neither do I, Salima replied. She tied the charm around her ankle. Far away, thunder rolled, though the sky was clear. Zalika grabbed Salima's arm. If the elders find out. They won't, Salima said. Because tomorrow, your husband will look at his wife and see something he has never seen before. What? Zalika asked. Salima leaned close and whispered one word. Judgment. They hugged tightly, twins' hearts beating as one. Then they separated. Zalika slipped into the darkness, heading toward Salima's hut near the river. Selima turned toward Zalika's home, the place of bruises, silence, and broken prayers. As Selima entered the hut, the fire was low. The air smelled of palm wine and anger. She sat down where Zalika always sat. She waited. Hours later, Bantu stumbled in. His footsteps were heavy. His laughter died when he saw her sitting upright, watching him. "Aren't you sleeping?" he growled. Selima lifted her face slowly. The firelight caught her eyes. For a moment, Bantu hesitated. Something felt wrong. "You look at me like a stranger," he said. Selima smiled. Outside, the drums began again, faster now, louder. The sound wrapped around the hut like a warning. Bantu shook his head. "Woman, don't test me." Selima stood. At that moment, the fire flared high, though no wood was added. Shadows stretched across the walls, tall and twisted, like ancestors standing up to watch. Selima spoke, her voice calm and deep. "From tonight," she said, "this house will remember every bruise." Bantu laughed nervously. "Have you gone mad?" Selima stepped closer. "No," she said. "I have awakened." The wind howled. The door slammed shut by itself. And in the darkness, something ancient opened its eyes. Morning came slowly to the village of Ndlovu. The sun rose like a tired eye, red and heavy. Roosters crowed, but their voices sounded weak, as if afraid. People began to whisper. Something was wrong. At the river, women washing clothes stopped talking when Zalika, wearing Selima's clothes, walked past. She kept her head low. The water reflected her face, still bruised, though covered with herbs. The river spirits watched her silently. "Why does she walk alone?" one woman whispered. "Why does her shadow look heavy?" another asked. Zalika felt their eyes like thorns on her back. She wanted to scream the truth, but fear tied her tongue. She remembered Selima's words. "Tonight, we change destiny." Across the village, Bantu sat outside his hut, sweating. His cup of palm wine shook in his hand. He had not slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw fire rising without reason, shadows moving on their own, and his wife's eyes, cold, watching, judging. "She spoke like an elder," he muttered. "Like an ancestor." He spat into the dust. When Selima stepped outside the hut, the sun paused behind clouds. She moved slowly, calmly. Her face showed no fear, only strength. Bantu looked at her and felt something twist in his chest. "You embarrassed me last night," he said sharply. "You spoke to me like I am a child." Selima looked at him. She did not lower her eyes like Zalika always did. "Children are corrected," she said. "Men who beat women are warned." Bantu stood up fast. His chair fell. The sound echoed too loudly. Hunters passing nearby stopped and stared. One of them, old Kofi, narrowed his eyes. He had seen many seasons. He had seen spirits hide in human skin before. Bantu forced a laugh. "My wife jokes too much today." Selima smiled slightly. "Today is different." Bantu raised his hand. The air suddenly grew cold. The wind rushed between them, strong and sharp. Dust rose like a wall. The drums from the shrine beat once, boom, even though no one was there. Bantu froze. His hand stopped in the air, shaking. Selima stepped closer. She whispered, but her voice carried like thunder. "Touch me again," she said, "and the ancestors will touch you back." Bantu's hand dropped. Sweat ran down his face. That day, the village felt uneasy. Chickens refused to enter certain yards. Children cried for no reason. The elders gathered under the big fig tree, their walking sticks tapping the ground. "Something has shifted," said Elder Marzigo, the oldest woman in Ndlovu. Her eyes were white with age, but her mind was sharp. "The twins," another elder said. "They were never meant to live separate paths." Elder Marzigo nodded slowly. "When twins bleed, the earth listens." That evening, Zalika sat alone near the river. The water moved fast, whispering secrets. She hugged her knees. "What if he finds out?" she whispered. A frog jumped into the water. Ripples spread wide. Behind her, a soft voice spoke. Truth always finds its way home. Zelika turned sharply. No one was there. Only the wind. Back in the hut, Bantu's anger grew like a trapped snake. He hated the fear crawling under his skin. He hated how his wife now looked at him like he was small. He went to the forest shrine at sunset. The trees there were tall and old, their roots like sleeping snakes. He poured palm wine on the ground. "Spirits," he said loudly, "my house is cursed. Remove this madness from my wife." The forest answered with silence. Then a branch snapped behind him. Bantu turned. A dark shape stood between the trees. Tall. Still. Watching. "Who is there?" he shouted. The shape did not move. The air smelled of smoke and blood. Bantu ran. That night, Selima dreamed. She stood on a mountain made of bones. Ancestors surrounded her, their eyes glowing like fireflies. Among them stood her grandmother. "You have opened a door," the old woman said. "Do not close it with fear." Selima woke up breathing hard. The bone charm on her ankle was warm. Far away, Zelika screamed in her sleep. In the morning, the village woke to news. Bantu had been found outside his hut, shaking, his hair suddenly touched with grey. He claimed shadows had beaten him. No marks showed, but his eyes were broken. People whispered louder now. "The spirits are angry. The twins have done something." Selima stood beside him, calm, silent. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do you remember every bruise?" she asked softly. Bantu looked at her and screamed. The drums began again. And the village knew, this was only the beginning. The fear in Dlovu grew like a dark cloud that refused to move. People spoke in whispers. Fires burned lower at night. Even laughter sounded careful. After Bantu's breakdown, the elders could no longer pretend nothing was happening. At dawn, a drum sounded 3 times from the fig tree. It was the call of judgment. All villagers gathered. Men, women, children, hunters with spears, mothers holding babies. The air smelled of dust and worry. Selima stood among them, calm and straight. Zelika, still hiding her bruises under cloth, stood near the riverside, shaking. Elder Marzigo lifted her staff. "Spirits do not scream for no reason," she said. "Someone has invited them." Her cloudy eyes slowly turned toward the twins. "The mirror souls," she whispered. A murmur moved through the crowd. Twins were sacred. Twins were feared. Long ago, it was said that when twins shared pain, they could bend fate. But such power always demanded a price. Bantu sat on the ground, rocking back and forth. His voice was thin. "They follow me," he said. "Shadows with her face." Selima stepped forward. "Shadows follow guilt," she said. The crowd gasped. No woman spoke like that to a man, especially not to the chief's nephew. Bantu looked up, rage flashing. "She is lying. She is cursed." Selima turned to the elders. "Shall curses be examined?" she asked calmly. Elder Marzigo studied her. "Speak carefully, child." Selima nodded. Then she did something no one expected. She untied the cloth around her arms. The crowd sucked in breath. There were no bruises. Then Zelika cried out. "No!" she shouted, stepping forward. Her legs shook. She removed her cloth. Gasps turned into shouts. Her body told the truth. Dark marks. Old scars. New wounds. The air felt heavy, like rain about to fall. Bantu's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Selima spoke slowly. "We are twins," she said. "When one is hurt, the other hears the scream. Last night, I listened." The elders looked at each other. Elder Marzigo closed her eyes. "The ancestors warned us," she said. "Mirror souls must not be broken." The ground trembled softly. Suddenly, a cold wind rushed through the gathering. Dust swirled. The sky darkened though the sun still shone. A voice rose, not from one mouth, but many. "Truth." Children cried. Grown men fell to their knees. The ancestors had come. Selima and Zelika stood side by side. They felt the same heat in their chests. The same power. Elder Marzigo shouted, "Spirits of Ndlovu, speak." The wind calmed. The voice returned, softer now. "Pain hidden rots the land." Bantu screamed, "Forgive me." The voice answered, "Forgiveness follows truth." Salima looked at her sister. Zulika nodded, tears streaming. Together, they spoke. "We switched places," Salima said, "so the truth could walk freely." The village fell silent. Elder Marzigo leaned heavily on her staff. "This is dangerous magic," she said. "Why do this?" Salima's voice cracked for the first time. "Because silence was killing her." Zulika sobbed. The ancestors spoke again. "The turning has begun." Suddenly, the ground split slightly near Bantu's feet. He screamed and crawled back. Elder Marzigo raised her staff high. "Enough. Spirits, we hear you." The wind died. The elders gathered quickly, whispering urgently. "This cannot stay hidden," one said. "The chief must know," said another. Elder Marzigo nodded. "Tomorrow." That night, the twins were called to the mountain shrine. It was forbidden ground, where only elders walked. They climbed as the moon rose. Stones glowed pale. The night was silent, too silent. At the top, they found a circle of old bones and carvings. A fire lit itself. Elder Marzigo appeared, alone. "You have crossed into the old ways," she said. "Now you must choose." "Choose what?" Zulika asked. "Justice or mercy," the elder replied. Before they could answer, the bone charm around Salima's ankle snapped. A loud crack split the night. From the darkness, a figure emerged, half woman, half shadow. The spirit of balance. Its eyes burned gold. "One life must change," it said, "or all will suffer." The twins held hands tightly. Below the mountain, Bantu screamed again. The turning point had come. The spirit of balance stood between the twins like a living shadow. Its shape shifted with the firelight, sometimes a woman, sometimes smoke, sometimes bone. The wind circled the mountain top, cold and sharp. "One life must change," the spirit repeated, "or the land will bleed." Salima tightened her grip on Zulika's hand. Her heart beat like a drum in war. "What does that mean?" Zulika asked, her voice shaking. The spirit's golden eyes turned to her. "Pain cannot return to silence." Elder Marzigo stepped forward, her old knees bending. "Great Spirit," she said, "guide us. The village is afraid." The spirit raised one long arm, pointing toward the valley below. Lights flickered in Ndlovu. Dogs howled. "The man who breaks must be broken," the spirit said. "Or the women of this land will keep bleeding in the dark." Salima's chest burned with anger. "Then take him," she said. "Take Bantu." The spirit's eyes narrowed. "Justice is not always death." Zulika trembled. "What will happen to him?" "He will feel," the spirit answered. "Every bruise he gave. Every cry he ignored." Zulika closed her eyes. Memories flooded her, nights of fear, silence, shame. "Do it," she whispered. The spirit nodded. Far below, in his hut, Bantu screamed as invisible hands crushed his chest. He fell to the ground, choking. His body twisted as if struck by many blows, yet no marks appeared. The ancestors had begun their work. But then Zulika cried out. Salima turned. Zulika had collapsed to her knees, clutching her head. "Stop!" Zulika screamed. "It hurts." The spirit turned slowly. "You are mirror souls," it said. "Pain flows both ways." Salima froze. "You said one life must change." "Yes," the spirit replied. "And that life may be yours." Elder Marzigo gasped. "No, this is too cruel." The spirit's voice softened. "Power always asks for payment." Salima knelt beside her sister. Zulika's body shook. "I will take it," Salima said without thinking. Zulika grabbed her arm. "No, you already saved me." Salima looked into her sister's eyes. Twins do not abandon each other. The spirit studied Salima. "You would carry the burden." "Yes," Selima said firmly. The fire flared bright white. In that moment, Selima felt everything Zalika had felt for years. Fear, pain, shame, loneliness. Her breath left her body in a scream that shook the mountain. Below, the village heard it and fell silent. When the fire died down, Selima lay still. Her breathing was weak. Zalika held her, crying, "Wake up, please." Elder Marzigo knelt. She touched Selima's forehead. "She lives," the elder said. "But she is changed." The spirit faded into the smoke. "Remember," its voice echoed, "suffering ignored becomes suffering shared." The mountain went quiet. At dawn, the twins returned to the village. People stared in fear and awe. Bantu was carried out of his hut. He could not walk. His eyes were empty. The chief arrived, anger and shame on his face. Elder Marzigo spoke loudly so all could hear. "This man has broken sacred law. He is banished." A shout rose from the people. Bantu was dragged away, screaming for mercy. Zalika stood tall for the first time. But Selima swayed. Her body was weak. The pain had not fully left her. That night, Selima burned with fever. Zalika stayed by her side, wiping her face. "I should have stayed silent," Zalika sobbed. Selima smiled faintly. "Silence nearly killed you." Outside, the drums beat slow and sad. The emotional twist had been paid. But fate was not finished. The fever did not leave Selima. For 3 days and 3 nights, she drifted between this world and the spirit one. Her body burned like dry grass in fire season. Her breath came shallow and broken. Zalika never left her side. Outside the hut, the village of Ndlovu waited in fear. Elders burned herbs. Drums beat softly at night, calling for mercy. The air smelled of smoke, sweat, and prayer. On the 3rd night, the wind changed. It came fast from the mountains, cold and sharp. Dogs howled. Chickens scattered. The fire in Selima's hut suddenly rose high without wood. Elder Marzigo entered, her face tense. "The spirits are moving again," she said. "This is the final crossing." Zalika's heart dropped. Will she live? Elder Marzigo did not answer. Selima suddenly sat up. Her eyes were open, glowing faint gold. "Do not be afraid," she said, though her voice was not fully her own. "The balance is not complete." The fire flared. From the shadows of the hut walls, figures appeared, ancestors. Men and women of old Ndlovu. Warriors. Mothers. Queens with braided crowns. Their feet did not touch the ground. Zalika fell to her knees. Elder Marzigo bowed low. The tallest spirit stepped forward. His voice was deep like the earth opening. "Pain has been seen," he said. "But the land still trembles." Zalika cried. "What more must we give?" The spirit turned toward Selima. "She stands between worlds," he said. "She carries pain not born to her." Selima's body shook. She gasped. "If she remains," the spirit continued, "she will never be whole." Zalika crawled forward. "Then take me instead." The ancestors murmured. Selima turned her glowing eyes to her sister. "No," she whispered. "This is my path." The spirits raised their arms. The hut walls vanished. Suddenly, they stood in a wide savanna under a black sky. Drums thundered from everywhere and nowhere. In the center stood the spirit of balance once more. "One final act," it said. "The land demands truth spoken before all." The vision shifted. The twins stood in the village square. The people of Ndlovu surrounded them, frozen in time. Selima stepped forward, her voice loud and clear. "Silence protected cruelty," she declared. "Fear fed it. Tonight, that ends." She raised her hand. In the vision, scenes appeared in the air, women crying in huts, bruises hidden, elders turning away, men laughing. The people gasped, seeing what they had ignored for generations. The spirit of balance spoke. "Look." The ground shook. Cracks ran through the earth, stopping at the feet of the elders. Elder Marzigo lifted her head, tears running down her face. "We failed them." The spirit nodded. Now choose. The elders dropped to their knees. We choose change, they said together. We will hear women. We will judge cruelty. The vision faded. Back in the hut, Selima collapsed. Her eyes closed. Zelika screamed her name. The fire died suddenly. Silence fell. Then, Selima breathed. Soft. Real. Her skin cooled. The gold light faded from her eyes. The ancestors slowly disappeared, one by one, like mist at dawn. Elder Ma's ego touched Selima's chest and smiled. She stays, she said. The balance is claimed. At sunrise, Selima woke fully. Weak, but alive. The village gathered. Elders spoke new laws. Drums beat with new rhythm. Women stood taller. Zelika held Selima's hand tightly. That night, for the first time, Ndlovu slept without fear. But dawn would bring the final lesson. The sun rose gently over Ndlovu, spreading warm gold across the huts, the river, and the wide savanna. For the first time in many seasons, the morning felt light. Birds sang without fear. The drums did not call for warning or judgment. They played a slow, hopeful rhythm, like a heart learning to beat again. Selima stepped outside her hut, leaning slightly on Zelika's arm. She was thinner now. Her eyes held depth, as if they had seen too much. But they were clear. The people of the village stopped what they were doing. They watched her with respect. Elder Ma's ego raised her staff. The ancestors have spoken, she said. And we have listened. She turned to the crowd. From this day, no woman in Ndlovu will bleed in silence. No man will hide behind tradition to break another. The wind moved softly, like approval. Zelika felt tears roll down her face. She remembered the nights she cried alone. Now the village saw her. Truly saw her. Selima squeezed her hand. You are free, she whispered. Later that day, the elders gathered again, this time with women seated among them. Hunters laid down their spears. The chief bowed his head. Bantu was never allowed to return. It was said he wandered the dry lands beyond the mountains, haunted by shadows that reminded him of every bruise he had given. No song ever welcomed him again. Seasons passed. The land responded. Rains came on time. Crops grew tall. Children laughed more freely. Women spoke more boldly. Selima slowly regained her strength, but she was changed forever. At night, she sometimes woke sweating, feeling pain that was no longer there. Zelika would hold her until the feeling passed. One evening, as the sun bled red into the horizon, the twins sat by the river where everything had begun. The water reflected their faces, older now, wiser. Would you do it again? Zelika asked softly. Selima looked at the river spirits moving beneath the surface. Yes, she said. Because pain shared becomes lighter. Pain hidden becomes poison. The wind rustled the reeds. From far away, the faint sound of drums echoed, not a warning, but a memory. Years later, the story became a tale told by firelight. Elders spoke of the mirror souls, the twins who dared to challenge silence. Mothers told their daughters. Fathers told their sons. They said the ancestors still walk near Ndlovu, watching, listening. And they taught one final lesson. When we protect silence, we protect cruelty. When we protect truth, we protect life. Fire moral of the story. Silence allows abuse to grow strong, but courage, even when painful, can heal families, villages, and generations. True tradition protects the weak, not the powerful. The fire crackled low. The night listened. And the land remembered.